Welcome to a special episode of Travels with Bill. We're in the Enchanted Forest near Roblin, Manitoba, and we're going to spend some time finding out just how beautiful this forest is. It's a work of art, lights, and more. There's Diane Livingston. She's our host tonight, and she made this forest. On this episode of Travels with Bill, we wander through the forest, hear some stories about how it was made, and see its beauty up close. Stick around. You'll see lots tonight. The Enchanted Forest is something that's existed for a few years now near Roblin. It looks like 2021 will probably be its last year that it's here, so we thought we'd take a walk through and see what you missed if you never made it out. The forest is open for about a month in 2021, and the idea is you come at dark. It's modeled after the Enchanted Forest you see in Scotland. Now, it is a smaller version, but it's still very interesting. Throughout the whole forest, you find things like this guy. He's the corner gas display, and he's lit by lights, and he's got some interesting stuff. A squirrel there that's, well over 100 octane, plus a happy day at the gas pump. Throughout the entire forest, you find things like that. So what we're going to do is take a walk through this time around and not really stop and look at anything too close. We'll just give you that view of if you walk through. Now, we did go through the forest several times, so we also have some close-ups of some of the things. And once we do the quick walkthrough, I'll show you some of those close-ups. If you want to skip ahead to them, I'll put a link in the description so you can skip right to it and miss this part. But really, this is one of the best parts. Each section has a bit of a theme. We're walking into Fairy Tale Lane right now, and inside it you'll see scenes from some of your favorite fairy tales. For example, we're coming up on Alice in Wonderland. We'll take a look at them a little bit later on too. Diane got this idea from the event in Scotland, and it's been going on for many years. She wanted to build something a little closer to home. So a few years back, she made one of these, but it wasn't actually open to the public. It was for some friends and family, and they spent some time looking at it, thought it was pretty cool, and continued it the next year. Here we are at the Three Little Pigs houses. They're just going by. It got a little bigger the next year, and then Diane figured, well, why not let people come see it? This has been its biggest year. It's newly expanded. Now, in talking to Diane, it's been very popular in 2021. In fact, over 1,800 people have already seen it. Some nights as many as 250 visitors are dropping by to see the Enchanted Forest. By the time it's done its run in 2021, it will likely be nearly 2,500 visitors that have come by. To find it, it was south of Roblin, just a couple miles. There were some signs there as well. $10 a person got you in to see the excitement, and you could walk through as many times as you wanted. A lot of people were taking advantage of that on the night we visited. We were there a little bit earlier on in the season. We had a chance to sit down with Diane after we walked through to find out more about it. Well, it's a labor of love, really. There's an awful lot of lights, and I don't think anyone knows exactly how many lights are here, but the entire pathway is lit in lights, and then the scenes are lit as well. And you can keep seeing them go by here as we move through the forest, all the different things. And there's a variety, everything from those fairy tales we saw in the first beginning to some scenes you see with stuff. In fact, there's an Out of Africa exhibit coming up that you're going to absolutely love. The best way to do this was to walk slowly through it and probably make a couple trips, because the first time you saw a lot. The second time you saw things and thought, well, I didn't know that was there. Here we're coming up to springtime in Paris. This is an amazing part of the display. See how crisp the lights are? We're filming with a camera that's pretty good at night, but at night this looks even better. Your eyes do a much better job than the camera ever will in the dark. You see the Eiffel Tower there, and this beautiful fountain as well with all the colors going on. And we're coming up on one of the neatest parts. This tree is one of Diane's favorite trees because it's just so incredibly beautiful. Now again, we'll come back and look at some of these things a little closer after we do the first walkthrough. Diane's pretty impressed with the amount of people that are coming out. She's actually not from Roblin. She's from Saskatchewan and makes the trip out here to where her family is from to set up this display and do it. That's why it could be the last year, because Diane's not that terribly interested in keeping on doing it. Like she says, it's been fun, but it's so much work. As you can imagine, the setup on a display like this takes some time. She works at it for weeks, and then, just before it opens, it's panic time to get it done and get everything set up and ready to go. At night, she's got a lot of help as well. Diane generally greets you at the front. We saw her there right at the top of the video. She says hi to everybody. There's a guest book to keep track of where everyone's from, and then she lets you wander through the forest. She's got some friends that take admission at the road, and there's also a canteen near the end where they sell some refreshments in case you tired yourself out during the trip. Here we're coming into the Out of Africa display. These were actually made by Diana the last year. It's their first year on display at the Enchanted Forest. We will certainly come back here in a few minutes' time and take a closer look at some of those animals because they look absolutely spectacular. Now the forest, all of these paths had to be cut into it, so Diane's been busy working at that for a couple years to get it just right. We're coming around just the outside edge of the forest here. It's lit by blue lights to keep you going, and then in a moment we're going to dive on back into the forest. At nighttime when you're walking, those blue lights are even better than they are in video because they're so crisp and sharp. And of course, you also get the ambience of all the other people talking and visiting as you wander through, and it's kind of cool at night. Not just cool because it looks neat, but cool because it's kind of cold. It's a prairie fall, so walking through with maybe a light jacket on gives you that real feeling of fall and somehow adds something to that whole experience of wandering through the trees. So we come back into the display here. We're not long until we get to, well, some flashing lights. There's some Christmas elements coming up too. Those are kind of a favorite of mine. Now Diane tells us she came up with most of the ideas for this, not all, because she certainly had some suggestions from friends along the way as well, but for the most part we're looking at things that Diane has figured out and put together. Check out this curtain of lights, they look cool, and there's a little fireplace in the background there that you can see with some chairs set up. The fireplace, obviously it's not a real fire, but it looks nice at night. We're coming into one of the Christmas scenes here. You can see the little horse there. There's even some white snow on the ground. Thankfully, we haven't had snow yet this year, but it looks kind of cool with the cloth laid out there to make you think it's a little bit more like Christmas. The night we visited, there were a lot of people there, all the way from the very young to the very old. There were people there that really was walking with a cane and making their way through it just fine, and there was also youngsters that were just darting on through the display. Now we're coming out of the first bush part here, and they actually have to take a trip across the yard, so we'll do that. What you're seeing there on the left hand side is that canteen that's set up. So after you go through this yard site and through the other part of the Enchanted Forest, you end up at the canteen, and there's some coffee, some chips, some chocolate bars, everything you need to make the night a little bit more interesting. These blue lights again take us all the way across the yard to walk through to what's one of the newer display areas. So far we've been in a forest where you're wandering through the different trails. This time around it's more straight, so we'll just go through a bunch of displays here as we come up to the end of the Enchanted Forest. Then we're going to go back, start again, and we'll look at some up-close shots of some of those more interesting parts. Now we're not possibly able to show it all to you, so if you did miss it, well, unfortunately you'll never get the full effect, but it's as good as it can be when it's on video. Check out those stumps. They've all got little cushions on them so you can sit a while if you need. Oh, and look at that. The lineup of lights all the way down in the trees, just beautiful. Now for the most part this is celebrating throughout the year, so we've got things like St. Patrick's Day you see coming up. Here's Valentine's Day, we're just going by right now, and at the very far end we'll find some more Christmas decorations. I might even tell you a bit of a story about those when we get there. Diane is really happy with how this has turned out and the number of people that have come to see it. Of course, when you have 2,500 people come to see something you've done, obviously it's very appreciated and people have been feeling like it's pretty cool. She's been promoting it a lot on Facebook, so a lot of local people have come, but she says it's fairly common to have folks that drive a couple hours to come and see the Enchanted Forest. We're coming up right now on the schoolhouse. We're definitely coming back to it too. That schoolhouse was hand built, and it's not just the outside of it. There's even a scene built inside of it. We'll try and look in the windows a little later and see if you can see what's inside of there. You already started to see Santa and Mrs. Claus at the end. Now the neat part is that's the same set they have at the Swan Valley Museum for their Christmas light display that we'll be looking at when it comes Christmas time. This one's been repainted. The one at the museum was refinished a different way. They actually found the original artwork to put back on it. Either which way though, those Santa characters are something you've seen from the past, and it's so neat to see them again. We're going by a little display for the Winnipeg Jets here. Don't worry, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are back there a little bit too, and we'll finish things up right with Santa and Mrs. Claus and the Elves. As you walk through this, there's also music, so you hear different sounds in different places. Of course, at Christmas time, you're hearing some Christmas music. The little archway is the end of the Enchanted Forest, and of course there's a little thank you sign down here at the bottom that thanks you for coming and encourages you to walk through again if that's something you want to do. Well, you know what? That is something we want to do, because I want to show you some of it much closer up. Well, if you're one of those people that skipped the first 12 minutes of the video to get to the close-up shots, hey, welcome back. You should really go watch the rest. It was good too. This is the Canteen. So you see the table with lights. There's some kids enjoying it. Also some chairs. We're still in COVID in 2021, so those chairs are socially distanced. But around the Canteen, there's something cool I want to show you before we move on too far. See it out in the distance there? Yeah, that's mini golf. So you could actually go mini golfing, or the kids could, while you were out there at night. Maybe the parents were looking at the lights some more and the kids were enjoying their time golfing. Pretty cool setup. And I have to say, it's the first time I've ever seen a mini golf course set up at an event like this, but it was a good fit. And those forms are pretty easy for mini golf. It's the type of thing you could make at home. Pretty straightforward. There's the holes, a little bit of obstacles there as well, but a neat little setup for mini golf. So let's hop back into the forest and see some of the features up close. Let's start our close-ups at the first light tree. This one's kind of a poplar tree looking thing, and it's white, but with the actual natural green leaves there, quite the amazing look. It's something I would be willing to take home and have in the garden because it's just beautiful. The Enchanted Forest was created, as we mentioned, by Dan Livingston, but Art Skabinski helped out quite a lot as well, plus many family and friends. And one of the exhibits is actually that welcome sign showing it to you. Check out the blue tree up close. See how neat those petals are? Now this is probably what doesn't show well in the video, is that blue tree is much more impressive at night. Here's the type of display you see, and there's lots of lights in the trees, some lights around, but it's when you take a minute and look that you really see some details, like the little village scene set up here in front. That's part of the things you'll see the second and third trip through. Home, of course, is where the heart is. That's what Mr. Gnome says, but you have to watch out, because home could be full of some scary monsters hiding in the trees as you walk on by. As we enter back into Fairy Tale Lane, we're going to find Alice in Wonderland. Check out the massive playing cards on the table. Everything here is themed. So the Mad Hatter has his proper hat on as well. You can see a bunny rabbit in the background. Of course, Alice is here. And then even behind that, see him peeking out? It's the Cheshire Cat. And there's the doorway for Alice to go through a little bit later on. Some of the elements are really well lit. Some of them you have to look to see, like the flowers there. Here's the Beauty and the Beast section. The lights in the tree provide the lighting here, so you can see Belle there. Of course, the Beast is here as well. We wander through a little bit, and here's one of my favorite displays. This, of course, is the Three Little Pigs. We're coming up on Pigtown, and in Pigtown, there's no wolves allowed, but if you look close, oh, there he is anyway. He's snuck in, and he's threatening those pigs just like he always seems to do. Well, the pigs, of course, have a lot of options. They've got 3 houses they could end up in. There's the brick house we're going by right now. I think if I was a pig, I'd want that brick house. But check out the details again. In the background, there's the straw house. Not a smart place for a pig to be, but if the wolves go home, I suppose it would be okay. Look at that straw. It's built perfectly to look like a straw house. Some little piggies there as well. Ooh, there's a pink boinker. And then if we come on back, we're going to take a look at the actual brick house. It too is perfect, and it's very welcoming, not only to the house, but to the Enchanted Forest. Next up is Winnie the Pooh, and you can see him there, plus of course Eeyore's there too, and Tigger's up a little higher up. These guys are stuffed animals. Diane tells me she picks them up generally at Value Village, and she's on the lookout for years finding all this stuff to put it together and make the scenes. See all the butterflies there as well? They're beautiful in the night. Here comes Bambi. Now, it's not as big as you might expect in the normal forest, but that's some of the cute parts, is how small it is. Thumper's there as well, and I see the skunk there with Bambi to make sure you see the whole layout. If you watch really close as we go through this, there's actually a beehive, which of course is part of the Winnie Pooh display. I like that butterfly. It's iridescent in the night. We're going to walk through a little bit here so you can see how it works. We're coming up now on Goldilocks and the three bears. They've come home already. Looks like Mama Bear's trying her porridge and somebody has been tasting it. I don't see any broken chairs yet, so maybe Goldilocks was a little more behaved than she was in the storybook. When you get to this point in the Enchanted Forest, there's actually a spot set up for you to take pictures. That's what we're starting to look at right now. You can walk in here. There's some different backgrounds, lots of lights as well. So you can actually stand in here, take selfies or take some group photos as part of the memories of being at the Enchanted Forest. The moon is out, the stars are bright, and it looks incredible tonight. Now the moon and stars are blue, and again, that doesn't show up as well at night on a camera as you would hope. Certainly it's a pretty good view, but in person those colors snap so much more. There's a gazing ball in that wind ornament there, and we're going to come back out and carry on with our trip through the Enchanted Forest. Not even halfway through the Enchanted Forest, and already you can see just the attention to detail and how wonderful the displays are. We're coming up on some of the cooler parts here, at least according to me. Check out that kind of peacock thing going on in the background with all the lights and the big setup. Beautiful. Now you've probably recognized these guys already. It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We'll go in really, really close so you can see the detail here. They're little wee dwarf figures hiding in the forest. And of course there's some mushroom houses to go with them and all the things you'd expect. There's more dwarfs tending the garden. Mushrooms seem to be sprouting up just about everywhere here in the Enchanted Forest tonight. Of course we're in Fairyland. I do like the mushrooms, they look pretty cool. Some of the houses are neat as well, and these are the displays you can stand and look at for a while. I do hope you made it out to the 2021 edition to see it. Every year it's a little bit different. Diane tells us it's kind of a work of art. She changes it up, changes the layouts, and changes exactly what you see. Here's a peacock standing there making sure you, well, behave yourself with some beautiful blue and green lights. We're going to keep on wandering through here and look at some more, but I want to give you a bit of that feeling of walking through it instead of just jumping display to display. When you're there in person, you get to do both. Of course, walking through with the camera a little different. I'm going to show you some tricks with video here. See the baby blanket? Now, here's a nice display, but it's kind of dark and it doesn't show up that particularly well. So with some of these displays, we're going to do some video lighting just to draw out the details. So it'll look a little bit different than it would otherwise. Let's turn the light on. See how it looks with the light on? So you can see the actual details of everything. It wouldn't be quite this bright when you're out at night, but for camera work at least, it shows the details a whole lot better. There it is without the light. We'll turn the light back on so you can see a little bit better, and that's why we're going to use the light, at least in some of the displays with more detail, just so you can see all the little hidden aspects that are there. It's a cool little display. Baby blanket there as well. Makes you feel all cuddly, doesn't it? Let's take a look at some of the other things in the fairy tale section. There's some cows and we see some chickens going by there. Now you see those little plastic bags. Those are actually holding some of the lights. A lot of the lights here are battery operated, so they keep them in the bags in case of rain. This year a few nights did get cancelled because of rain. So far they'd lost 4 nights by the beginning of September for nights. It was just too rainy to do this. The displays of course stay out at night, so with the rain they have to sort of tolerate that. By shielding those lights a little bit, it works out better. Oh, check out the cute little frogs here. They've got their own little lily pad garden to keep them quite nice and comfy in the forest. We'll take a peek at some angels as well, and we're coming up on Ian's Corner. Now, Ian Livingstone's got a little bit of a memorial set up this year. Diane tells us that's new this year. In fact, most of the things that are in it actually came from other displays from last year and were put together to really honor Ian's memory. He just passed away in 2021, so of course it's important to the family to have a little bit of him here in the display to keep him close to their hearts. We're going to see that here just as we round the bend. He's kind of into fishing a little bit. Well, there's a couple people doing some work on a little stump there as well. Looks like they're getting along well, maybe working on a decoy duck. And here we are with that little memorial. It's called Ian's Corner. See the chair sitting there? Oh, heartbreaking, isn't it? Because he's not there to sit in the chair with them. But there's a fishing rod to keep him going and all sorts of things that were important to him. There's a photo of him there as well that you can see. He passed away just this year, so it's fairly fresh in everyone's minds. But hey, he made it out to the Enchanted Forest. That's the important part, right? He's still part of the display. Oh, check out the owl. The next big part of the display is coming into the Springtime in Paris section. Just before we get there, there's a little bit of folks taking a look in the mirror there, and some, well, what is that? Looks like an elephant, really, of all things, all laid out. We're still using that video lighting, so you're seeing the details a little more, not noticing the lights as much. You'll also see a couple shadows that wouldn't normally be there, but I think it adds something to it when we're doing these close-ups so you can see exactly what's going on. By the time we were shooting this, it was getting close to 11 o'clock at night, so it was very, very dark outside, and we needed just a little bit more. Here we go. Springtime in Paris, as they would say. It's a beautiful display. You see that window coming up? It's actually a real window. So you're going to look through it. You see that little statue behind it. And as we go by it here, we'll see the flowers, and we'll see how the statue is showing itself through the window. That is a work of art, isn't it? The wine glasses are out in case someone drops by to have a little bit of time with some company during their visit to Paris. There's a little parasol there as well in the trees. The elements here are great, and the design is cool because the more you look, the more things you see. Check out the candles. They've got those fancy LED lights that flicker in them, so it looks like the candles are really burning. Of course, they never burn down, but they look amazing. There's a candelabra here. We're just going to bring the camera up a bit to take a look at and get rid of the light for a moment. You can see some of that flickering action there as the candles keep on going. And of course, the Eiffel Tower. That is a Christmas light display, but it works just perfectly here in the fall as well. It's bright and sharp. Oh, it looks incredible at night. If you've never had one of those, worth thinking of having one for Christmas time. The fountain's a neat part too. It's set up in a pool. It has lights there that change so you can see the water splashing around as it keeps changing color. I'm not quite sure how Diane came up with all the ideas for the different displays. It's got to be something she lays awake at night thinking about to figure out just what she could add in and how to place it so it looks absolutely perfect. The tree in the background there, well, we're going to get a little closer to him too. That is one of Diane's favorites. Here's what that Eiffel Tower looks like if you're really up close. It's kind of a plastic meshy stuff with the lights in it. Looks perfect as you get a little further away. This tree is one of her favorites. She was so happy to add it to the display. In fact, I think all of the light trees are kind of things that Diane's a little bit of a favoritism for. She likes her lights, and she certainly likes them in the shape of trees. I suspect Diane Livingston's the type of person that can make something out of almost anything. Here we've got a disco light going, even something so simple as some record albums laid out. This, of course, part of the disco display. Ooh, I like those little lights. Haven't you seen those and always wanted one? I certainly have. Never had one yet, but they're pretty cool. Normally you'd put a bulb inside that thing, right? And it would light up at night. Let's walk down the path a little further, and we're getting close to a safari. We're approaching the Out of Africa section of the Enchanted Forest. These displays were made just for tonight. Well, I guess not tonight, for this year, 2021. But Diane made them, and they stand out. They're huge, and certainly they feature well. We'll start off with a little statue there, but check out what we're getting close to. You saw them when we walked through, but they're going to look so much better when we do their close-ups. Check these guys out. Yeah, there's the king of the forest, right, waiting to greet us to the Out of Africa display. And then we're also going to see some other ones, including the giraffe. There's an elephant there. Tiger just sneaking by as well, looking to see if he can get us in trouble a little bit. Inside the tent, there's another stuffed animal. Diane was actually telling me the story about him. She said she walked into Value Village one day, and it's like he almost spoke to her. There it was, the perfect idea. Let's do the Out of Africa display. And the rest of the display kind of grew. There he is right there, laying on the bed, making sure that nobody gets into his tent and causes too much trouble. When I see people taking pictures on Facebook, certainly some of these Out of Africa pieces of the exhibit are what they are taking pictures of, because you could stand right beside that giraffe or maybe beside the hippopotamus, get your picture taken, and it looks perfect. Oh, look at him. He's actually almost smiling. I didn't know a hippopotamus could smile, but apparently it is so. That is mostly a smiling hippopotamus. And here comes the giraffe. We look up, way up, and we'll eventually find his head there, munching on a tree. This is the Out of Africa display, and it is certainly just like Africa. Those trees are lucky it's not a real giraffe, or else their leaves would be gone. Now you see the blue lights. If you remember from our first walkthrough, we go out of the forest here, take a little loop around, and then we get to the It's Colder section. I'll one's beginning to look a little bit like Christmas, isn't it? There's some Christmas lights hanging in the trees, and you can see even more coming up. Thankfully not too cold on the night of our visit, but it won't be long until the snow falls and the real Christmas lights are out all over the place. This curtain of lights is pretty cool. They twinkle and shine, and if we peek through them here, we can see a little bit better that picture of the fireplace. It's a little Christmassy type scene set up to be nice and comfy home for the holidays with the family. Wandering on past that a little bit, we'll find those Christmas lights proper with the snow on the ground. Now that snow, of course, is actual fabric just laid out there, but it does the part and makes it feel like you're walking in. I swear, you can feel a chill as you come through this section and start to think about Christmas and snow and everything else. Check out the little decorations there. I love the blinky lights. She's got her parka on to keep warm as well. The Christmas lights throughout the trees make it look good. The little horse there is ideal, flashing a little bit. Now, if you remember, this is kind of the end of the forest section. This is the last section of display before we take that big walk across. We'll skip the walk here, of course, and go straight on to the end section so you can see those through the years displays that are set up. I'll spend another moment or two just looking at the Christmas light display. Ooh, see the snowflake in the tree? Apparently the snow is falling. Here's a little ice rink complete with skates. That's a plastic sort of laying there to make it shiny at night. We're using the video light here, but if you were seeing this without the light, it would be twinkling even more on that plastic as it lays on the ground, looking exactly like ice. A quick peek into the tree of some lights, and then out we go into part 2 of the Enchanted Forest. Well, here we go, walking into the other section of trees. This is kind of a big long row of trees. We're taking a look for a moment at the stumps there. They have the cushions on them. So throughout the display, there's chairs sitting, there's stumps. So if you need a little break, you can. We'll start out here with Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, we're starting off a brand new year. We're going to wander through the entire year in this display, from New Year's all the way until Christmas at the very end. Some pretty neat stuff here. These displays are all really new. They were added for this 2021 year, and they really make it pop because everyone is themed for a little bit of a different section, right? We'll start off with New Year's, but we'll kind of go through some holidays. We'll see a bit of other stuff as well. Here we are looking at Valentine's Day. Cupid must be around here someplace. We certainly have the hearts and roses to make you think that love is in the air. Throughout this section, there's lights hanging in the trees, which is neat to walk under, but quite a lot of it also has this rope light along the bottom. That makes it even more special as you wander through, because it kind of shows you where to put your feet and guides you along as you keep going through the display. Next up, it's St. Patrick's Day. A sea of green approaches. Ooh, there's a nice hat. That may look pretty good on me for St. Patrick's Day. I suspect, though, if my wife saw it, she'd probably hide it, so I avoided wearing it ever again. But if I keep it from her, she'll never know I have it, and I think I would look perfect in a green hat like that. Well, it's already Easter as we keep on going through the display. There's a rabbit in there. See the big Easter eggs as well. There's another rabbit. Even that pinwheel of colors, that looks amazing. Now, we're not using a lot of video light here. This is how it actually looks. Always a little sharper when you're there in person because we're shooting at night. Kind of tough to see everything, but you can see how bright this is. If you're having trouble, turn off the lights in the room you're in. Let your computer show it to you a little brighter, and you'll feel like you're actually there. Throughout this section too, there's different music going on as you move from section to section. Here we're celebrating, oh no, it's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but we're almost in Saskatchewan when we're at Roblin. We should have something else here as well. Well, if we move over a little bit, yep, there it is. Saskatchewan Rough Riders are here as well. So no matter which team you cheer for, we certainly have them on display at the Enchanted Forest. We've already made our way to Canada Day. Check out that Canada Day cake. That's just exactly what you see at many Canada Day celebrations. Then they cut the cake, everybody eats and celebrates our country's birthday. Here's some more of those small details. See the little wee Canada Day hat put in there? That's why it's worth making more than one trip through the display to make sure you see it all. Part of the display we're not going to see a lot of tonight is actually pictures of the Cenotaph from Roblin. There's some military uniforms on display there as well. Those are commemorating some of Diane's family, which of course were in the war and helped secure freedom so we could celebrate things like Canada Day. Here's that schoolhouse we looked at a little bit earlier on. We'll take a much closer look at it now. Beautiful schoolhouse on the outside, but you can see in the windows there's a little scene going on. We'll zoom in a bit here to try and show you what's in there, but there's a teacher, some students, the blackboard is there as well. There's even some little chairs for guys, and check out the trees right along the edges. Some displays in the trees there, and yeah, look in the windows. That is probably the coolest part, how you can see everybody in there as part of their school lesson, which is on the go. Uh-oh, somebody's kissing outside the schoolyard. Must not know where they are. It looks like the teacher here is actually a rabbit. Some little desks in there as well. A cute display. That one is one of the top displays of the thing, just because of the amount of work that's gone into it to make it extra special. Well, we're fast forwarding to Thanksgiving Day already. That comes a little earlier in Canada than I suppose it does in some places, but it does seem like we're moving through the year pretty fast, doesn't it? Each step of the way it's set up so the little display is kind of really relevant to the holiday it's celebrating. We're going to end with Christmas as we get to the end of it, and that'll be the end of our tour of the Enchanted Garden for this night at least. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. What comes after Thanksgiving? Well, it's one of my favorite holidays. Halloween, of course. Oh, I love setting up the Halloween decorations. Fun to give out candy to the kids, too. My favorite, of course, are fog machines. I just can't have a Halloween without a fog machine because I love the billowing clouds of fog. I almost got in trouble for that once. I was in Winkler doing Halloween there, and we set up, well, a bunch of fog machines because, you know, they don't always make fog, so if you have 6 or 8, you get more of it. Well, it was a pretty calm night, and the fog was drifting quite a bit. In fact, it was drifting across the city, and it wasn't long until the Winkler Police Department showed up to see what was on fire. Well, they did forgive me for it, even though vehicles were having to slow down on Main Street. Here's that Roblin and area sort of war memorial. We can see the uniforms here a bit. What doesn't work on camera here, though, is the pictures of the Cenotaphs. We're going to have to skip over that part, but certainly these are the names of people that were killed in action in World War II, and their families get a chance to see here, and you see the locals stop and spend a lot of time at that display. Anyway, in Winkler, I got away with it. No harm done. The fog eventually disappeared, and we carried on. We're starting to celebrate winter here with the Winnipeg Jets. There's some hockey players out there. Nice hockey net, too, and some Jets memorabilia. Yeah, it's hockey time. Oh, we should almost play that Hockey Night in Canada song, shouldn't we? That's one song you don't hear as you're walking through here. In fact, by the time you're to this Jets display, you're already hearing a little bit of Christmas, because that's what's next. Santa and Mrs. Claus and the Christmas music is playing. Check out the Elves there. Those are all wood kits that were made years ago by a company in the States. They were sold in newspapers in Canada. You mail ordered the kits, built them at home, and used them as displays. These ones have been repainted to make them look extra bright again. If you find original ones, they're getting quite faded. Some of those patterns are still available from the original company, so you can get the new patterns and make new ones of them too. That's kind of cool. I like the lights in the background there. A little look at Mr. Claus, and then we'll check out Mrs. Claus. Well, that pretty much does our tour of the Enchanted Forest near Roblin, Manitoba. It's 2021 when we viewed this forest. Now, they tell us the forest probably not going to be on display in 2022. We'll wait and see exactly what happens with that. But thanks for joining us on Travels with Bill. If you haven't already done so, why don't you subscribe to the channel? We're always going to new interesting places and taking a peek around. We'd love for you to be a subscriber so that you can see where we go next, and then you don't have to wait to luck into another Travels with Bill episode. Well, for now at least, goodbye from the Enchanted Forest. We'll see you again soon.